I'm Harry.
Oh, and I'm Beverageless Richard. Hey, there it is.
You're watching Dead Ducks.
Yeah, pretentious little dead dicks. Dead dicks. Yeah, buddy. All right, buddy. Yeah.
I think I do 2 minutes of anything.
Can you?
No. Pretentious Dead Ducks. It's an oxymoron right there.
Yeah.
Been a while.
You don't drink out of a glass like this and say, ah. You go, oh.
It's been a while since we got together, so.
Yeah.
This is our first shoot we've done in a while, even though we have tons of videos in the queue. We're just going to shoot more anyway.
Yeah.
Why the fuck not?
Just keep fucking shooting like a drunken duck hunt.
That was a good game, man. Duck Hunt.
Yeah, oh, that was fun.
I love that game. Anyway, what are we doing today?
Fuck if I know.
Okay.
I think you're going to do a bunch of talking.
Yeah, I'm going to do some talking. So I watched a video, it's a sports cards guy that he was talking about. He talks about all kinds of stuff. Mainly talks about the financial side of sports cards. And he does a top 10 every week of the highest sales on eBay and other auction sites. And this past week he did one talking about graded stats, which kind of got me curious about the TCG side of grading. I used a site called gymrate.com. I might throw it in the comments, but you can just rewind it and go back and listen if you forgot already. Anyway, it's gymrate.com. It compiles all of the grading stats for the 4 main grading companies, which are PSA, BGS, CGC on the trading card side, and CSG on the sports card side. The same company, different names. And then SGC. For the trading card side, I'm only using PSA, BGS, and CGC. SGC is bigger in sports cards. They don't do a lot on the trading card game side. So I left all the stats out for them. Anyway, I was astounded by how much Pokemon has come to dominate the grading scene. I didn't realize how massive the market was for Pokemon until I looked at these grading stats. I knew it was big. Everybody knows it's big. You know, everybody knows about Pokemon. But the ratios for Magic, and especially Magic, because there's not really too many other card games besides those 2 that are graded. Yu-Gi-Oh! To an extent, but mainly Magic and Pokemon. But it's a 3 or 4 to 1 grading ratio, which is insane. Anyway, so before we get into that, just a few general things here. The big 3 graders now are PSA, BGS, and CGC. CGC has captured a massive market share, especially since PSA went into the tank and had a huge backlog. Their prices stayed relatively competitive during that time, and they picked up quite a bit of market share. I don't know if they grade a lot of dead card games. There wasn't a lot of data for that, so I didn't pull a lot of that. I've used SGC, and I know they will grade some dead card games, so if you want to grade dead card games, don't use PSA. They won't grade most of them.
They're fuckers.
Yeah. We've got a couple. They'll grade Hyboria Gates, PSA will.
Yeah. It won't grade what? No, they grade Star Trek.
Yeah, they grade Star Trek. They grade Star Wars. But they wouldn't grade Dark Age. So, go figure. Yeah. Anyway, so you'll see, I'll put a lot of these stats up on the screen so you'll see all this stuff as we're talking about it here. I broke this down. I just did the 90s to start out with. We may do this again, and if we do, I'll do different years. This is just kind of a introduction video for all this. But I did 1993 when Magic came out to 1999 when Pokemon came out. And once I got into the data and started putting graphs together and stuff, I had to split out 1999 from the rest of the series because 99 was so dominated by Pokemon that it just made the whole graph look stupid. So 93 to 98 is one series and 99 is by itself. Let's see, PSA's recently just gotten back into offering bulk submissions again, so their numbers may start trickling up again, but CGC has made massive, massive gains on PSA, and they've overtaken Beckett as the second biggest grader, recently, which is interesting.
Make sure I'm clear. The 93 to 99 means the date the graded game came out, not the date it was graded.
Well, yeah, correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
Because some of these shits weren't even
Yeah.
around. And,
Yeah, so they, the stats that are in the 99 could have been graded yesterday. It's just cards never came out in 99.
Yeah.
Yeah, I should have clarified that. So the first thing we'll talk about here is just a breakdown by the grading companies themselves. So PSA still dominates overall 3-1 over CGC, which is now the second biggest. And Pokemon is by far the largest. So PSA has graded 1.5 million trading card games, and it's loosely trading card games because some of their categories are not correct. But GemRate does have an option just to choose trading card games, so that's just what I used. I did throw Star Wars in there from a different category because they weren't in the trading card side, and I wanted to show just those stats. So Pokemon has 1.3 million graded cards through PSA. With a gem rate, and I guess I should explain what a gem rate is. Gem rate for PSA is a 10. BGS, it's a 9.5 and up. Same thing for CGC. So 9.5 and up for everything besides PSA 10. I'm sorry, PSA, which is a 10. So out of 1.5 million graded cards, Pokemon has 1.3 million of them. And they have a gem rate of 18%, almost 19. Magic the Gathering is their second highest graded trading card game at 87, almost 88,000.
That's insane.
Yeah, and that's just 93. That's all. That's everything. So that includes 99 as well. And that doesn't include anything past 99, where Pokemon would be, I don't know. I mean, Pokemon's been graded. Even their new stuff gets graded heavily. Magic does not. Magic pretty much quit being graded after Urza's Saga, or Urza's Legacy, the last Urza block.
And it isn't just, Pokemon isn't just 1.3, it's 1.39.
Yes, almost 1.4 million.
Yeah,
out of 1.52 million. So, yeah, 1.4 million to Magic's 88,000. The next one after that for PSA is Pokemon trading cards, which were erroneously put in the trading card section on on PSA. They really are just trading cards, but they have 25,000 of those graded. Yu-Gi-Oh! As a whole for PSA only has 21,000, not even 21,000. Other comes in at just 1,200, and that's everything else, mostly Dragon Ball Z and shit like that.
Yeah,
and other anime stuff. And then poor old Star Wars, which I pulled in just for comparison, 795 cards. Now, Star Wars is a big fucking property.
Yeah.
And the ratio between Pokemon and Star Wars is just astronomical.
795 to 1.4 million.
Yeah. And so CGC, next up here, again, Pokemon has has over 400,000 more than Magic. 470,000 to 55,000. And then other, who the fuck cares? It doesn't even matter. Now, something to note here is CGC is much more strict on their gem mint rate. Theirs are roughly 9% versus PSA's at 19%, almost 19%. And then poor BGS, who used to be the industry standard for Magic, I think they still are technically, that's where most of the Magic players go to get their cards graded. So they're at 200,000 for Magic and only 60,000 for Pokemon. So that's a big difference.
Yeah.
You know, between PSA and CGC, they own the Pokemon market completely.
Yeah.
Beckett's just an afterthought. And you can see on the screen the other games. I'm not going to mention all the rest of them here, but poor Star Wars. Between the two graders, what, 1,400? I put Star Trek under BGS just to show that there are some Star Trek cards graded. And it's all, by the way, when I say Star Wars, it's all Star Wars games. Not just the base, the premiere and all that, but all of them. So Attack of the Clones and all those other Wizards games and all that shit. So it's all Star Wars. Yeah, so Star Trek has 120 graded cards. There's probably more. I didn't go look for them on PSA, but you get the idea. There's not going to be very many of them. Up next, I'll show just some October stats just to show that the trading card industry is booming as far as grading goes. Between all the companies, they're 300, almost 400,000 cards graded in the past, just in October.
Jesus.
PSA leads all that, obviously. But CGC has almost 100,000. That's a third of PSA. That's pretty damn good. And Beckett's just almost gone. Beckett overall is down. I think it shows on the next slide here. Beckett is down in October 18% month over month.
Jesus, and look at CGC.
CGC and CSG and all of them are up 50%. Yeah. This is all cards graded total. So this includes sports cards and everything else they grade. Obviously you can see here that PSA is by far away the industry standard.
Yeah.
They grade 1 million cards in one fucking month.
So. Yeah, those others' growth rate, though, is impressive.
Yeah. Besides Beckett. Well, I guess it's still impressive, just the wrong way.
Yeah. That's impressive but terrible.
Yeah, because Beckett, they're a really respected grading company, and they were second for, till here in the past couple of years,
Yeah.
As far as Magic goes, if you watch any of the Magic guys on YouTube, they almost all of them grade through Beckett, except for Rudy. He's a PSA guy.
Yeah, I'm not shocked to see the growth in that other section, given the PSA with their delays and prices, and they had some missteps and.
Yeah, and PSA recently started offering bulk submissions again, so we'll see what happens in the next 6 months with that. They're back down to, if you find a special when you're a club member and all that garbage, $15 a card, give or take, which is 50% higher than when they shut down. They were about $10 a card on bulk. So, and CSG, CGC, those are around $12 bulk, I think. They're not a big difference now. So it'd be, and I know for at least up till recently, I haven't looked in the past couple months, but PSA is still way outsold everybody else. So if those prices come back to parity, you'll see PSA pick back up and continue to be a dominant leader.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised by that at all.
No.
They're going to correct the course.
Yeah, just because the sale price is so much higher. Now, you could, if you like CGC and all those, then nothing wrong with that. I personally do not like their holders for trading card games, and I'll show pictures of that here too. They have a different holder label for sports cards and trading card games. So they've recently changed the sports cards. They got rid of the subgrades. As far as of right now, CGC, the trading card side, still has subgrades, and they kind of updated their label, made it a little more sleek and uniformed. Still, to me, I don't quite like it.
I like it a lot better.
Hey, that's better than the trading card game.
Yeah,
by a lot actually. So we'll see if they change that up. I'll show some examples of that on the screen too. You'll see that. So now I'm getting down to the breakdown for the 90s. So if we go back to 93 through 98, for the first couple of years, of course, that's when Magic was first released. Those are all dominated by BGS because people grade Magic with BGS. So till 95, they're the leader of Magic cards. And then once 95 comes around, nobody's really grading anything because there wasn't anything to grade besides junk, bulk, and glut shit.
Yeah.
And nobody's grading that. And then once you get into 96, 97, 98, you start to see Pokemon come around. It's all still Japanese or Pocket Monsters and just different variations of that shit. And then this is where PSA takes off and becomes by far the leader of the pack.
Yeah, hugely dominant there quickly.
Yeah. So was it from 94, you got BGS at 19,000. 95, nobody cares. And 96 is PSA at 13, almost 14,000. And then from there on, it keeps increasing every year. And BGS keeps shrinking every year. And you can see CGC is made up. And again, almost all this is going to be Pokemon. There'd be very, very little Magic. And from after 94, it gets revised. And you got Fallen Empires and some of the Four Horsemen sets in 94, I think. But anyway, you don't see much Magic after 94. Now I've got a chart here. I'll show you that on the screen too. It's everything we just said. Then you get a 99. And 99 is just all Pokemon all the time. 217,000 cards graded by PSA alone. The poor old BGS is 9,675, and that's probably still going to be mostly Pokemon. Magic is at the tail end of their grading era. There's just not a lot of Magic cards graded after 1999. Once you get outside the reserve list, there's just not a lot of grading. People still do grade, there's just not a lot of it. You see a chart here too that
That chart's nice.
Yeah, it's pretty. We talked a little bit about the gym rates. I already kind of mentioned that, but PSA roughly overall is around a 19% gym mint rate to total graded. CGC is much stricter at less than half of that at 8.5.
Wow.
And then BGS is the most loose. You can shove your whole fist in those. You get your whole fist in BGS and get you about 25% gym rate overall.
I love that.
And at Magic, they're at 27%. So Pokemon, they're much lower at 14. Probably because they're handled by kids. So a lot of the earlier stuff is probably in pretty rough condition.
Yeah. And no wonder people love them for Magic. Mm-hmm. 28%.
Yeah.
Well, and if they were, that would also make sense too. The analysts have been coming out. If most of the BGS traffic was early years when the cards were newer, that they would have more mints, true mint.
Yeah.
If they declined in popularity after the early '90s, but anyway.
Yeah, I don't know what it was that people left BGS, why they left BGS. And there's still sports cards that are, that fetch some really high dollar stuff. But that's generally, there's 9.5, which is a gem mint for BGS, and then there's a pristine 10, and there's a black label 10. Those black label 10s will garner premiums no matter what it is.
Yeah, I was thinking more of pulling numbers out of my ass. If 80% of the early Magic cards graded through Beckett were done in the first year, as opposed to 20 years later, a lot of them were done through.
Well, no, I mean those are cards that were graded. That's just the year the card came out.
No, so. I know. Yeah, okay. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. If they were more popular nearer the time they came out, it'd be more likely that they would have more. Yeah, and maybe they're not as loose as it looks. That's all I was saying.
I don't know when any of these companies started for sure. I know PSA started grading in the early '90s, but of course it wasn't popular until late in the 2000s. I don't think.
Yeah, Beckett might have been.
Yeah, I don't think
been alive.
Beckett may have started probably between the mid 90s and 2000s, or in that range, I guess. I don't know for sure, but anyway. Overall, so there's one more chart here, or one more pivot table here. It just shows the overall grading for all cards that were in this data set. So Pokemon had 1.9 million cards graded total. Magic had 343,000. So 1.6 million more Pokemon cards graded. Damn. And Yu-Gi-Oh! Poor Yu-Gi-Oh! I mean, it's that's the third most popular game. 21,000 cards, almost 22. 22,000.
That's a pretty crazy drop off.
Yeah. When I looked at this data, I knew Pokemon was popular. I just did not have any idea how big the difference was.
No, I never would have guessed the skew was near that extreme.
And it goes back to something Richard and I have talked about, especially here recently, is how well Pokemon markets. We have you can't probably see it, but behind us they did this year, I don't know if it's the first year they did it, I'm assuming so, but they had Pokemon card packs that they gave out for Halloween. That's fucking genius. Because your market is kids, and if you can get them when they're 4, 5, 6 years old, 10, 11, 12, shit, that's great. Magic doesn't do anything like that,
Hell no.
Now, granted, it's geared for a slightly older market, but most people fucking with Pokemon cards nowadays are people in their 40s. So now it's turning into more of a financial market, but still. Anyway, I don't know what else there is to say about it. Is there anything else that needs to be said? I mean,
that's fucking interesting, though.
Yeah, well, all this will be. Well, you obviously see it because we're at the video and you've seen everything already. So we're looking at a computer screen right now. So
yeah, that's pretty fucking cool.
Yeah, it's interesting. We might revisit this later in different forms. I'd like to digging a little deeper into some of the deck card games at some point if we can find that shit.
Yeah, you're trying to make us all studious and shit. Fucking
whatever.
Harry and I over here, the CCG guy.
Mm-hmm.
All right, well, fuck. How'd you do then?
Good enough.
Fuck, I'd say you did, bud. Shit. Yeah.